It's a tale as old as time, and it's back in movie theaters again, but unlike how you've seen it before, this is Beauty and the Beast. It stars Emma Watson. It's a live-action adaptation of the classic Disney animated movie. What did you think, my friend?
I think it's a very interesting film. I think it is a cool remake of the animated cartoon.
Yes.
But it's a hard act to follow.
Yeah, the shadow of the animated film looms so large over this movie, it feels like it's in search of its own identity. And that's, I think, the major flaw with the movie, because there's a lot to love in this thing.
Absolutely.
The set design, I think all of the performers are pretty solid in this thing. The songs from the classic film are back, and they're all, quite lovingly re-rendered for the film. And there's some new stuff added that it isn't amazing, but it isn't, completely sticking out like a sore thumb in this movie. It's a good homage. But that's kind of what it is.
That's what it is. And I think it's very hard to take a beautiful animated classic like the original and turn that into a live action thing. But you can tell there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of love that's gone into the set design, into all the colors, the songs, and everything. The animation, everything is done to a loving touch. But it's very hard to wrap your head around this movie. And I think another thing that I have to bring up is that the Beast, as cool as he kind of looks in CG, I would have liked a more realistic Beast, a little bit more,
you can tell it's
prosthetic.
CG, right? And that's I think you're right. That's a problem with the film too, is that I think the CG in terms of animating facial expressions and features, and we're trying to get the love coming off of the Beast, who's played by Dan Stevens, who's pretty much the Beast for the whole movie. He's in that new Legion TV show, which is awesome. He does an okay job, some pretty good singing chops with this guy. So they animate his face instead of the prosthetic stuff, and I think it gives you more subtlety, more details and stuff, but you're never not aware that it's CG. Unlike Chewbacca, who for 40 years plus now has been able to emote with this obvious mask on his face, and you care about him. This one, it's trying too hard to make you care about it.
The last movie we saw was Kong, Skull Island. And as good as Kong looked, he was still CG, and every time you saw him, you're like, it's CG. And you never kind of went into the story because of that. And I felt I didn't go into the story as much because of that.
Well, and the other thing that happens there's a couple things that happen when you transpose a really classic fable like the Beauty and the Beast animated film to a live action thing. You turn all of these household items, these candelabras and these harpsichords and these coat racks and stuff, into living things. They're creepy as hell in real life.
And we have to mention this. I know you were thinking about bringing your daughter to this movie. Thank God you didn't, because I think it's good for a certain age group. But for younger kids, it'll scare them a little bit. There was a little girl we heard at the end of the movie. We won't spoil anything, but she kind of screamed out. It really bothered her. So I think it's a good movie for maybe maybe 6 and up, 7 and up.
So and super fans of the animated movie as well. And I think you kind of come in and you've got to forgive it a little bit, because the beautiful thing that the animated classic can do is it sort of taps into your imagination. You kind of embellish what you're seeing. With this one,
beautiful at times.
The animated one, and the new one is beautiful too. But it's kind of taking that imagination and putting it on screen, and what we imagine around Beauty and the Beast is better than what the filmmakers can do, and I'm sorry.
Impossible.
Right? And I have to applaud Emma Watson. I think she commands the screen quite well as Belle.
I think she played it well. I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest Emma Watson fan.
No.
But I think she played the role very well.
It's a good choice for her.
And all of that, yes.
She's still maturing as an actor, and I think that's probably she's so famous because of Harry Potter, but we still don't really know her that well beyond that role.
We kind of stereotype her in a way, so to see her do something like this, you gotta let her do it.
And I think that was a strange choice, because she's so high profile, but because we don't really know her that well, she kind of embodies this role of Belle quite effectively. I think she's good.
Takes it really well.
I definitely miss Jerry Orbach and David Ogden Stiers and Angela Lansbury. Those were the famous voices from the animated movie. Emma Thompson plays Mrs. Potts here. Her singing is not as charming and as endearing when she's singing that classic.
A lot of the songs aren't as charming, I found, Like Be Our Guest is such a classic song, and it was delivered well in this, but it just didn't have the same charm. charm.
The thing that does stand out, though, in this movie, and I thought this was going to fall flat on its face, is Gaston, played by Luke Evans.
Unbelievable.
Who is fantastic in this movie. And I also think that Josh Gad is fantastic in this movie, too. He's becoming this secret weapon, not so secret weapon in the Disney flicks. He was Olaf in Frozen, you know, and he's fantastic. He's a great actor, and he's a great musical comedy actor. It was great to see Kevin Kline in the dad role, too. I love that man.
He's great in anything he does. I've always loved him.
There is a tremendous amount of charm in this movie, but you can never get the animated thing out of your head, right? And you're constantly comparing the two. And the animated movie is just better. It just is.
It is, and I think that's a testament to Disney creating something so perfect back then.
Yeah.
And I think this movie shoots for the stars and just barely misses it.
Yeah.
But I think for a family entertaining film, taking your families in, I think it's pretty good.
It was fun to watch you watch this movie, though. It was fun to watch you kind of rubbing your head, going, "Oh my God, what am I seeing? What am I listening to?"
And you know, it's not like, do you know why? Because it's not my stereotypical movie that I would go and see. But I know what I would appreciate it for a family going to see.
Yeah, no, and I'm looking forward to seeing what my daughter actually has to say about this thing in a
year.
Yeah, a year or two.
Yeah.
I was entertained. I wasn't blown away. I don't think that. I think I like the Cinderella live-action movie a little bit more because it surprised me, and this was almost a note for note trying to emulate what we've already seen.
Animated live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just kind of missed it a little bit.
They did. I'm going to give Beauty and the Beast a 7.5 out of 10. What are you giving it?
A 7.5 out of 10 as well. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.